real zippy, and we got his way out there, and Jimmy's like, great thing about Jimmy is he doesn't panic, but he's like, here. I'm like, okay, let's figure this out. And so thankfully we were able to get it back. But yeah, get all your crashing done in practice time. That's a big thing. Crash as much as you want in practice, but don't crash on the job. That's a big thing. Don't crash in front of a client. Don't ever let a client see something like that, because it'll get on the news. It'll happen. You'll end up on the news.
That and word of mouth travels real far.
Yeah, exactly. For example, Aerial Mob, I don't know if you guys have heard of them. They're a really good aircraft company out of California. And they know what they're doing. But on one job, they crashed. And they got a bad reputation because of that. And they're just now, a year and a half later, I'll talk to different people that don't, they'll be like, oh yeah, Aerial Mob, yeah, they crashed over New Jersey. And I'm like, how do you know that? It's like word of mouth really does spread. People start talking, and especially competitors. The drone dudes are direct competitors of Aerial Mob, and Aerial Mob called them to help them on the job. Said, hey, we crashed in New Jersey. How much will you charge us to fly out and finish this job for us? Because of that, they gave their competitors knowledge of their fault. And so their competitor went out and like, oh yeah, this guy, he just crashes and calls us to fix it, so you better hire us instead. And so you just don't want people to know about this. If you don't want to do it, you don't want people to know about it. You crash when you're practicing, do all sorts of crazy things when you're practicing, and if you're out at a job and somebody's like, hey, I need you to fly between these two rock faces, and it's like, 4 feet wide, just say no.
Yeah, if you're not comfortable,
just be like, I'll crash. I don't want to do that. Tell them no, and say, this is what I'm willing to do. I'll fly above the rock faces, filming down into it, but I'm not flying between them. You don't understand basic radio. As soon as that goes out of sight, through a stone, I'm not going through a stone wall.
Well, there's a return of investment on your shoot and making your client happy versus what you've got into your bird.
Exactly.
And hot dogging it for a $200 shot to trash your $2,000 helicopter, it just doesn't make much sense. So we've got, I think, maybe less than 20 minutes left. I did want you, Victor, to talk about your camera systems and maybe the balancing of the gimbals and how you got to throw chicken bones on the ground and do voodoo chants to make it work properly. And then also I'd like for you guys to get a chance to ask these guys some questions before they get out of here. So if you want to run through that real quick for me.
The systems are pretty straightforward, in my opinion. It takes a lot, well, especially nowadays. Most gimbals, the majority of gimbals, are powered by Alexei Moskalenko is the guy out of
Russia, somewhere in Russia.
Somewhere in the Soviet bloc. I can't remember if it's Belarus or whatever. He's a genius. He looked at brushless motors one day and said, why can't I give these things enough resistance to where I can smoothly control them with an algorithm, with basically an ESC, an ESC that takes input from a servo wire. And so he created gimbals. Probably 80% of gimbals run off of Alexmos, I would say, or an Alexmos variant. This is a gimbal I designed myself for carrying a neck-size camera, which is a mirrorless camera. And I really like it because it's very lightweight for aerial photography. It takes great pictures, beautiful pictures. Has a good right rate. Any guys photography students in general, you understand right rate, One of the most important things with the camera is not necessarily the megapixel count, but the amount of data it will write within those megapixels. So you'll get like for example, a GoPro, and it's a 12 megapixel camera, but its write rate is like I think it's like 11 or something like that, 11 megabytes per second or something like that. It's really low. Whereas the next will write about I think it's 48, so it's close to double, maybe more than double what the GoPro will write as far as data per megapixel. And so that's one of the big things in choosing cameras. You got to figure out the best weight to data written ratio. And so that's why I really love the next series, the Next 5, Next 6, Next 7, and then the continuation of that is the A5100, the A6000. Those cameras are really good for photography. They're okay for video. They're not the best video cameras, but they're really good for photography.
Now, the panoramic stuff that you do is primarily a feature of that camera then? And then they have like a post-processing suite to...
There's about 5 programs involved, and I can't remember if I showed you guys the cameras before when I did the demonstration in the past, but panoramas are a big part of my business, and it takes about 5 or 6 programs to stitch the panoramas correctly, and do them online, and all that different jazz. But yeah, primarily with that camera really allows you to take some super detailed panoramas that most of the people can't do. A standard panorama, I'll probably shoot 30 to 40 pictures and from a single location. And one of the great things is you just have to stay away from close objects, because with cameras, you have what's called point of no parallax. And that's essentially, the point where light coming from the foreground and light coming from the background intersect. And there's no difference. So like, if you hold your finger out and you turn your head, it appears your finger is moving because your, the back of your eye is the retina, right? The retina isn't at the point of no parallax. The point of no parallax in your eye is actually about, I think it's like a centimeter in front of your retina. And that allows you to have depth of field because you can turn your head and you can see that this object is closer to the background. Well, what you want your camera to be at when you're shooting panoramas is a point of no parallax. However, on an aircraft, it's really hard to achieve. So what you do is you just get really far away from the other objects. That way, everything is background light. And the differential, percentage differential of like that, the light from that post coming to me versus the light from the wall behind me is kind of your ratio when you're in the air looking at like a building with streets behind it or something like that. So, yeah, the next series, or what I really like to shoot with, we have a couple bigger rigs at home for bigger shoots. Like we've got a couple octos, and then as far as this goes, this is a DJI gimbal. It's called H33D. I'm actually on Kevin's side. I hate DJI, but if you can't beat them, you got to join them. If you're out to make money and it is a viable tool, by all means use it.
Yeah, they actually have a new platform that just dropped this last week, Inspire One, I think it's called, and it's it's shaken up the community as far as innovation, and
it's incredible.
And it's a mix of haters out saying things ugly and it's DJI, but then the other half of it is it really is actually innovative and they're doing some cool stuff. So
and so that's exactly you would not believe how many calls I've gotten from different members of the community going, "Are you getting an Inspire? What are we doing? Are we getting them? Are we joining them?" It's like, if it works, buy it. If you can make money with it, buy it and use it. But the caveat to that is, don't be someone, and this is great, you guys are in class learning about it. Don't be someone that's out there buying it and doesn't understand it. Because those are the people that give the community the bad name. Are the guys that go, I'm going to be an aerial photographer, and they don't understand a dang thing about how things go on together.
And that is the good thing, is that you guys have actually, I've intentionally given you the opposite of what the typical learning process is. Most people start with the DJI Phantom and then just learn to fly it and go from there. So we've only got a couple minutes left. I was going to say, we've only got a couple minutes left, so let's go ahead and pop it open for questions.
You don't have so much storage in your car. As a photographer, Murphy's Law, anything that can go wrong will go wrong. So I have backup lenses, backup flashes, backup camera body. You bring a backup drone, something to go wrong.
If you're going long ways away, yes, you should always bring a backup drone. If you're 45 minutes from your work, from where you store them, I don't bring a backup because I can drive right back there, grab one, and just go right back.
You got a toolkit, extra props.
Yes, and actually it's out in the car today, but yeah, I've got an extra prop bag, cheap props. These are very expensive props. I actually don't carry spares of these. I carry spares of cheap props.
You don't carry $60 props on?
No, I normally don't whip them out of my pocket. No.
Is that what those are?
These are 75.
No, that was close.
They seem very rugged. I mean, we have these props so you don't slice your wrist off by practicing.
Yeah.
What's really the difference between some of these props?
Well, these ones.
It's faster.
So the ones that you guys have, they're real, they're flexible and bendy and whatnot. These are extremely rigid for one. They're usually made out of carbon fiber, and they're balanced perfectly. Whereas the ones that you have, there may be a little bit more plastic on one side or the other. So if you watch them with a real high-speed camera, you might see that they're flexing a little bit. And ultimately, what that means for you is jello in your video. So you buy expensive, rigid, balanced props because they chop up the air perfectly. The other thing is they're at a different pitch and I don't know, which one they ultimately wind up at, but it's usually a very flat pitch so that it's not, chopping up as much air, so to speak. It's kind of just going along with the
You
resistance.
have to get 2 sets of landing gear phones. Is there a reason for that?
Oh, these, you mean this here?
Yeah.
This is just prop cover, is all this is. This is just,
Oh, okay.
that's all.
That's because he doesn't want his $75 props to get dinged up in his trunk.
Exactly. Right. I'm like, yeah, these are actually cork filled. These are cork filled props, and they're cork filled carbon fiber balance props. They're a work of art. Freaking love them.
Yeah, a lot of times those props show up in cases that would be worthy of your wife's diamond ring for marrying her, and they'll come in silk prop bags, and they expect you to take them off one by one and put them back in their silk bag when you're done. And I'm not even joking.
Exactly true.
We had carbon fiber props on here, but it was the wrong pitch and it took the flight time down.
Yeah.
And it didn't have too much power, so you have to know.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Motors.
So the interesting thing about that was we bought the same brand of props, but just the correct size for these motors. However, Tiger Motor did something really weird with their smaller props. I think they proportionally decreased the pitch, but it took the authority out of this aircraft completely. So we needed a higher pitched prop for this higher KV motor. Now these props, I love these props. I don't think you've seen these.
For the HQs, or?
These are actually the new APC props. They're APC multi-rotor.
Oh,
And
yeah.
actually did a lot
I
of
saw that they were
research.
making them. I haven't flown them yet, though.
Oh, dude, they are. We did bench tests for these. These are as efficient as these, and they're $4. I mean, it's ridiculous. These guys did some serious research figuring out what the best profile is for a prop, and these props are just gorgeous.
It's funny because APC is probably stereotypically one of the more
logo,
popular.
yeah.
Well, they're one of the more popular prop companies because they've been around for aircraft,
Yep.
for regular fixed wing airplanes
Yep.
rather. So they're almost the prop standard in the hobby, but multi-rotor users typically don't use them because they're lower quality or they're the cheaper props. So
Exactly.
this multi-rotor line, I think came out in like July or something like that. It was earlier this summer,
Yeah,
but it was a pretty big deal because they were basically re-announcing their authority, in the prop game, saying, "Hey, we're still here.
We still make good things.
Yeah, we're not ignoring you multi-rotor users."
You want me to fly this in here?
Sure.
I don't know how much if you guys have flown these in here or not.
Yeah, they've all signed a waiver. They've all been told you can have your face chopped off and all that stuff. So Victor is flying. Please watch out.
It's terrifying. As Kevin knows.
You are responsible for your own safety.
You should have, what was his name? What was the one that crashed my one time?
Oh, Ty?
Ty, you should have Ty. come in
Yeah,
and fly.
Ty will be
You
in.
should come in and fly everywhere.
Yeah, my business partner Ty is notorious for crashing everything that I own. Like I'll get a brand new helicopter. Like literally, we were gonna fly this yesterday, and I told him, "No, you are not allowed to fly it," and he proceeded to crash my Arion. So,
So as you see, this is telling me I've got the 3 reds, and I have no GPS signal. And that's, in a building, in a basement, obviously, I'm not going to have any GPS signal. But the really cool thing about this machine is these are all welded joints. This is actually my aluminum, believe it or not. This is my old
is
aluminum.
this the evolution of the towel rack?
The evolution of the towel rack. It's powder coated, it's welded in the center, and it's welded upward. And these are cool. We just did that for the cool factor. We did some tests. We didn't really do a whole lot, but
And the praying mantis in the front is obviously to keep the props out of view in your film shoots and whatnot. I think it's kind of nimble.
He's going real good. But as you see, that gimbal is pretty up our good. I don't know if that is too much to do, but I don't know what this guy is telling me. But you see, it's stable. That's the one thing I really like about this guy. That's almost out of the box. I mean, we did very little modification to it.
It took us 2 days to get open pilot right, and it
took us about 2 hours to get out of there. So as you see, Open Pilot is awesome because it's less glitches. You know, you're out flying in a park, less chance you're going to hit a kid. But for ease of use and like getting something in the air, like I said, we had to do a cathedral shoot. We had to go with DJI.
Yeah, DJI has a number of brilliant engineers and
DJI has the yellow, the white ones that are all covered in plastic.
Yeah.
This is like their upgraded.
This is their flight control. We designed the aircraft. Their flight control. The flight control. I don't like to buy out of the box stuff with DJI. I hate out of the box stuff. But their flight control.
yeah, just that white GPS puck. Anytime you see that, that's pretty much a good indicator. It's either got an A2 on it or NASA has the same puck, but it's usually a Wukong.
It's just different colors. Yeah, you got like this is yellow/orange, this is red, and then the A2 is blue. I think the A2 now is blue.
Often you have to calibrate that. It looked like it was just sitting pretty steady.
It is.
So you move the
I was going back
joystick,
and
just
forth.
screw, and it wanted to kind of correct itself. So what flight mode was that?
That was attitude mode. So attitude mode just basically it is listening to its own gyro. It's not listening to the GPS, but it'll self-level. Now, if you're in manual mode, you know you are the gyro. That's what you have to. But the great thing about the atoms that you guys are using is you can mix modes. Correct? I mean, you can kind of mix where you're kind of the gyro, but not completely. It'll sort of auto-correct, and so you can have it with the atoms where they will be, you know, full attitude mode. They'll self-correct.
Yeah, so the modes that you guys are flying in now, your stabilized mode is also an attitude mode. So the amount at which it reacts to the external force is basically a PID.
Yeah,
on NASA, they're called gains, or not on DJI stuff, they're called gains.
Yeah.
But it's basically that algorithm that we went through a couple of classes ago, which is literally how much do I respond and how fast. That's ultimately what keeps you level. And you know, DJI is just a different development shop, so they have their own, you know, their own tunings, their own defaults, and their craft are, for example, they used to say that you couldn't fly large octocopters with the NASA, and it was just something they knew about their algorithm. But out of the box, DJI is known for being pretty solid. There's usually not a lot of tuning involved. You can just pretty much drop it on a number of airframe frames and
but that is the
kind of
danger,
rock out.
like we talked about.